Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Have you ever heard this expression? If you're not invited, don't ask to come. Well, even if you didn't hear it, do you know what it means? It means that if someone thought that you, I don't know, you're irrelevant to whatever they have together over there, they considered you should not be part of it for whatever reasons. If you ask to be invited, that means a slave morality, according to Friedrich Nietzsche, which is you demote your worth. You beg to be invited somewhere where someone decided you should not be invited. Well, this is the case of the European Union and Great Britain. They were not invited in the peace process in Ukraine, as of now. And nevertheless, they want to invite themselves. How? The France and UK to present Washington, D.C., the Americans, with Ukraine peacekeeping force plan. The Russians, which is the party, said, no, you're not invited. You have nothing to do over there with your peacekeeping force. The Americans said, well, hold on, okay, These guys want to worm themselves in the equation, burst into the party. This is the first topic that we have here. The other one, I will show you how we want to take it. I will use the word sleaze. These guys in the West sometimes are. And I'm going to use the pipelines. And not only the pipelines, other countries' resources. Now the United States of America wants control of key gas pipeline in Ukraine. So a country from here wants full control of another country's infrastructure in order to control, whenever it wants, the flow of gas of the third country to the fourth entity, which was the European Union. You understand? It's like you have something with your neighbor, and someone wants to dictate when you can have the relationship, not with this neighbor, through that neighbor with his relative somewhere. Well, I put this in the context of Nord Stream pipelines being sabotaged, blown up by possibly the same guy who wants to control this, is blowing their cover with with impunity. They don't care. They don't care. You can connect the dots that are right here, straight line dots, tick, 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 okay? But still, they will not know who blew up the Nord Stream gas pipeline between Russia and Germany. But now the Americans come and say, well, we want to control the gas flow. Remember, the Americans told the Russians, if you enter Ukraine, we will stop that gas pipeline, Nord Stream 2. And with this one, it's like, circumstantial evidence, however you want to call it, it's unbelievable. And then the same guys impose sanctions on Russia. So what does it look to you? And the sanctions they imposed on Russia, indirectly, they imposed on the European Union, who imposed sanctions on Russia. So it seems to me this is a takeover, a clear takeover of the Americans over the Europeans, and they try to dictate the Europeans' influx of gas from Russia. That's going to happen, but I'm going to be the one with the hand on the faucet or whatever and turn it off, click, click, click. That's it. What does that look to you? Like allied countries? Do you think the Europeans looking at this is an allied? And then the Europeans, in the first topic, they go to the Americans to present them with a plan. They were not invited. This is my dish to pass right here. But you were not invited, baboon. All right, let's go to the first article here. This comes from New Voice of Ukraine. France, United Kingdom, to present Washington with Ukraine peacekeeping force plan. Obviously, it's so, and look at these baboons. Look at this French guy, Le Cornu. Oh my God. And these guys right here. These are the guys who want to be taken in consideration because they're irrelevant. The actions of the Russians and the Americans prove that these baboons right here, 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, these are like those three monkeys. You know, those three monkeys, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. Those are the guys. The problem is different. So these guys right here, they are irrelevant. They work sideways somewhere in their little cochon Paris, and they want to be important. And they submit it to the Americans. Why didn't you submit that to the Russians too? Or you think the Americans are imposing anything? You lost. That's what it is. You lost. And you think you're going to negotiate? I don't think it's going to be a negotiation. They're going to go, negotiations would go like this. I'm the Ruski. Okay, давай. All right. Sit down here. We're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 problems here. 4 problems. The problem are you remember our initial non-negotiable? Yeah, okay. And the Americans will say, yes, sir, but you gotta, oh no, get out of here. The Russians will have all their 4 things fulfilled. I guarantee you that. So these guys, let's see what kind of plan these guys sent. The UK and France will unveil a comprehensive, when I hear comprehensive, I'm throwing up each and every time. Post-war deterrence force, this is a euphemism for occupation force, NATO NATO actively and legally occupying Ukraine. For Ukraine, to U.S. President Donald Trump, within weeks, Bloomberg reported. According to those sources, European officials hope the proposal will convince Trump to provide a backstop and logistical support to the Franco-British contingent deployed on Ukrainian territory. Now, let me tell you why this is imbecilic. The Russians, the main reason why Russia invaded, I know, unprovoked and all that, undefendable and illogical, invaded Ukraine was NATO. The existence of NATO, the moving NATO close to Russia, and eventually being in Ukraine illegally and not because Ukraine was not part of NATO. They were talking about being part of NATO. So these guys are saying, you know what? We're going to bring the same forces, NATO forces, but we're not going to call them NATO forces. We're going to call them deterrent forces. Okay? Got it? But it's the same thing. So how imbecilic that is. Just so you know, when you hear deterrent forces and you hear any country that was actively involved in fighting Russia in Ukraine, what do you think? So then it was not about Ukraine, it was about you getting in. Exactly. And then the next one is a trampoline towards Moscow and its resources. UK Defense Minister John Healey and his French counterpart Sébastien Lecornu said military leaders from both countries, their leaders, are working on the next 2 weeks on details outlining how a Europe-led coalition of willing 6 states so far. And I tell you the 6 states. I made a video yesterday. France, Great Britain, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and an unknown one. I laughed, yes, an unknown. That unknown is probably Poland or Czech Republic. And they will be, or no, they will be in. We know that. But, all right. So, coalition of the willing will help secure Ukraine's airspace, coastline, and land while also assisting in restoring Ukrainian forces. That is, let me translate this for you. Will help secure Ukraine's airspace. That means these guys will fly over. Coastline, that means they think that Ukraine will have, let me go to this map, Ukraine will have access to the Black Sea right here, coastline. That's why they mean coastline. I don't think the Russians will allow that. The Russians will control this. So they already dictated to the Russians by saying that what these guys, and the land, what do you mean the land? Like all that, and my friends. That's what coastline and land, while also assisting in training, arming Ukraine. For what exactly? Oh, it's a deterrent, because the word said so. Okay, it identifies as a deterrent force. There means it is a deterrent. All right. Officials in London and Paris expect the plan will demonstrate Europe's serious intent, you were not invited, to invest its own resources into Ukraine's post-war future and will persuade the United States to be involved in the security arrangements, even if it means no U.S. troop deployment. I don't hear anything about Russia here. You see anything about Russia? They don't even say anything about Russia. Okay, so this is the first topic. Not invited, but I will try to come in. I invite myself. you show through these actions you're irrelevant. You don't show your willingness to help. No, to occupy and push forward toward something that you were already smacked, which is the war in Ukraine. Imbeciles. Anyway, Lecornu and Haley and Bailey. All right, next one. Let's see how the Americans blew off or blew out their cover, which it was any cover. I think that the Americans were like on a deserted island with a little, I don't know, leaf in front of their little dingy-lingy. That's the cover, a little leaf. All right, let's move. 12th of April 2025, U.S. wants control of key gas pipeline in Ukraine, Reuters. The demand is an Easter egg. Hey, give me an egg. In your mouth, maybe. Contained in the minerals deal that Washington is pressuring Kiev to sign, the news agency has said. So they want, the request is one of the Easter eggs contained in the latest draft of the mineral deals that Washington is pressuring the government of Ukraine leader Papa to sign, the agency. The administration of U.S. President Donald Trump wants Kiev to give Washington control of a pipeline through which Russian gas reaches the European Union, not the Americans, the European Union. Now, that gets me to the sanctions. The sanctions, but I will show you the pipelines. The sanctions are exactly the same thing. We are going to not allow the Russians to sell cheap gas to you, but you're going to buy my 4 to 5 times premium gas that I will send you liquefied natural gas whenever I feel like. And when I don't feel like sending it, you are going to do, I don't know, using what? Wood, logs from the forest? What does that mean? Remember when Trump told these guys, oh, you can't allow yourself to be blackmailed by Russia, telling the Germans, remember? And he went, not only the Germans, he told Stoltenberg, then the secretary of NATO, just a secretary, remember, he's not in charge of NATO, just a secretary. He said that dinner, lunch, breakfast, why do Germany allows itself to be blackmailed by Germany? We want why we want Germany to be blackmailed by Russia instead of Germany being blackmailed by us? We can control it. Hey, we're allies. This is Baboonstein, man, Baboonstein. And let me show you. Remember Nord Stream 2? Right there. It's all right. This is what it is, my friend. Natural gas pipe from Russia to Germany running through the Baltic states. Right here. This is the Nord Stream 2 that was blown up in this area here. Okay? So from around St. Petersburg area, right here. It's blown up right here. And that's it. The sabotaged pipeline. By whom do you think? The ones who want to control gas flow of cheap Russian gas into Europe. Who might that be? The Europeans. If they're Europeans, that means they are masochistic. Or by somebody else who has profits out of this. It's obvious who did it, but hey, let's go to the last one. BBC, what are the sanctions on Russia and have they affected its economy? So the sanctions. Who imposed sanctions on Russia? It was not necessarily the Europeans wanting to impose. It was the Americans telling the Europeans, and the Europeans did it even if that contradicted their nations, their people's national interest. They did it. They said, you're not going to buy gas from the Russians. We're going to buy from you, as I said, 4 to 5 times more expensive. Who does that? And then everything in your country is for Ukraine. And you send money over there. You send weapons. You risk to be bombarded by the Russians with nuclear weapons. And you do it. Why? Because these guys are telling you, the guys that right now want to control you with the gas flow, they told you to sanction Russia. Now, this is a legal or de facto, and it's going to be legal because the Americans will take over it, de facto takeover and full control of the Europeans by the Americans. The Americans have troops in Europe. The Europeans don't have troops in America. That tells you all you need to know. Remember, who's over there? France? France is really lost. Mbappe, as I call France, Kylian Mbappe is not going to cause any harms. Give them some machete and probably they would. But other than that, that's with France. And then Germany. Who wrote Germany's constitution? Oh, the Germans. Okay. And it's about 70,000 American troops and nuclear weapons deployed not by Germany, by United States of America. Europe is an occupied continent. and is controlled by Americans. Whatever needs to be controlled. They don't have to control, I don't know, Czech Republic or Slovakia or Albania or Hungary. All these countries, less than 10 million people. They make the European Union. They have Ursula come and say, you do this or you do that, minus Albania or whatever. Thank you very much for being with me again today. That's happening. So you have 98%, I think, confirmation who blew up the pipelines, the Nord Stream 2 pipelines. The same guys want to control the same thing. That's the whole goal over there. We want to control that, so you depend on us. So how are you going to compete, Europe, with the Americans? You will not compete, even if you try. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.